through, they really find that this is both very intellectually interesting and challenging, but also it's a chance to be able to be a volunteer in a very important effort. And so we really welcome it, but it's meant to be able to give you a very different kind of perspective on things. The TSEC that you will hear from next month, others, they're really kind of more down to the number part. This is really more in the policy areas, and I think very important. So with that, I will turn to them. I think they've got the scripts ready to go.
So I am slated to do an introduction presentation today. So the CAC was presented with an opportunity to review the overall budget, and I'll present some of the CAC opinions and recommendations and provide a basic overview of the current budget and the crisis affecting TriMet. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on that topic today. The 2010 budget presents far more challenges than the 2009 budget. While TriMet's budget is always large and complex, disarray in the economy, high unemployment rates, and massive stock market losses have made the fiscal year 10 revenue especially difficult to predict and therefore difficult to budget. While these market conditions are beyond TriMet's control, they have forced large budget cuts to the agency. With unemployment reaching a 25-year high nationally, and with state unemployment predicted to reach beyond the current 10.8%, the largest component of TriMet revenue stream is declining and is expected to continue to decline. The budget is further complicated by the fact that payroll taxes are paid quarterly and the unemployment numbers continue to increase, making the budget very difficult to forecast since it is always after-the-fact information. 55% of TriMet's operating revenue comes from payroll taxes, and payroll taxes are directly dependent on employment. The agency has no control over the decline in the largest part of the revenue stream, which is payroll taxes. Because of the uncertainty of this income stream, TriMet executives presented both an initial budget with a 5% across-the-board cut and then offered a contingency budget with an additional 3% across-the-board budget cut for a total budget cut of $23.5 million. These cuts represent a combination of service reductions in both rail and bus routes. The CAC supports the efforts made by the executive staff to combat the very complicated and uncertain market conditions and to hedge the budget in taking this proactive, responsible to-budget approach. We also understand that because of the uncertainty in the economy, more budget cuts might be required and would therefore require another contingency budget in order to hedge and plan for further economic declines. The theme that ties together our committee's discussions this year are the ways in which TriMet can maintain its excellent service to the community. Recognizing that market conditions are causing budget cuts, the CAC encourages the agency to focus on revenue streams within their control. Measures suggested by the CAC for increasing revenue streams include the current policy of improving reliability of ticket vending machines to allow ticket purchases from responsible riders, and increased fines and enforcement for fare evaders. Also, the CAC is split between the complete elimination of Fairless Square versus a reduction to rail only. Either way, these types of initiatives will generate some increased revenue, but perhaps even more importantly, they will decrease public frustration and increase the overall equity of a system at a time when TriMet resources are extremely limited. Other members of the CAC will provide greater detail on these ideas. The CAC also supports the deferral of asset purchases where possible, such as deferring scheduled bus replacements by 1 year beginning in fiscal year 10. One of the main budget constraints is TriMet's inability to have flexibility with union employee costs. With underlying employee benefits continuing to increase during this economic down cycle, and the opportunity to renegotiate the union contract coming up later this year, the CAC recommends adding flexibility into cost containment through the new contract. To do this, the CAC encourages the executive staff to include both the union leadership and, where possible, the members with information about TriMet's current budget crisis. It is key that the union knows the reason for across-the-board budget cuts and that it has clarified with the membership that the majority of TriMet is funded through employee payroll taxes, and payroll taxes are down. The CAC hopes that this dialogue with the union will encourage union leaders to work with their members to determine priorities for the membership and to offer creative ways of reducing expenses from their side. While the ADA mandates door-to-door transportation for people with disabilities, the costs associated with lift operations per ride are massive. The CAC supports TriMet's implementation of in-person eligibility assessments to determine who's eligible and to both discourage abuse of the system and to provide educational information to help lift riders with other options such as fixed route bus and rail service. We are encouraged by the projected savings this program will have for the agency of $32 million over 6 years. Passenger revenue is expected to increase almost 6% this year. However, ridership only brings 20 to 25% of the operating revenue. Additionally, fuel costs are well below the fiscal year 9 budget for savings of $5 million and are $6.4 million below the fiscal year 10 forecast. These savings are, of course, well offset by the substantial reduction in payroll revenue and have little impact on the service reductions. The CAC commends the general management and executive staff on the proposed across-the-board budget reduction of 8% and the deferral of capital equipment costs by such measures as the push-out of capital asset expenditures like the buses for another year. Generally, the CAC is encouraged by the belief that management is working hard with creative cost reductions while trying to maintain as much service as possible during this economic slowdown. Thank you. I'd like to turn the topic over to Jessica to speak about marketing.
All right. So a topic our committee focused on this year was TriMet's marketing strategy. The marketing director presented us with an overview of its diverse outreach activities to the general public, which includes partnerships with businesses and community events to encourage ridership, multilingual collateral, trip planning tools, the TriMet website, and all the signage and pamphlets that appear within the TriMet system. Our committee is impressed by the comprehensive scope and creativity of the marketing campaigns to encourage ridership. We believe that the marketing department does an excellent job in its work to create an easy-to-use and friendly transit system. In particular, the CAC is an enthusiastic supporter of the popular transit tracker and the partnership between TriMet Schedule and Google Maps. We are excited about TriMet's efforts to stay on the forefront of innovative technology to increase the efficiency, cost-effectiveness, and accessibility of the transit system. These types of tools have become indispensable for many riders and are a source of pride for the Portland community. However, our committee does see room for improvement in the organization of the TriMet website. While the site has excellent articles about current TriMet issues, they are often difficult to locate. Our committee also endorses TriMet's efforts to develop an internal brand that is implemented by the staff and recognized by the community. Perhaps as a piece of TriMet's new internal branding, our committee would like to see TriMet riders more formally involved in a recognition program for the operators. If riders are more directly involved with voting for the best TriMet operator, this may motivate more bus drivers to provide excellent customer service at all times. Overall, our committee is concerned about the disparity between the negative media coverage of TriMet and the reality of the extremely conscientious and proactive agency that is constantly reinventing its procedures to provide better service to its riders. Examples of such topics include security concerns, fareless square, fare increases, service cuts, and broken fare machines. We do understand that TriMet engages actively with the press to address these concerns and post articles on the TriMet website. However, in addition, we suggest a marketing strategy that bypasses the press and speaks honestly and directly to its daily riders about issues that affect them. A new campaign might create signage with tangible and sometimes surprising facts on buses and MAX trains, as well as run station platforms, to communicate the improvements that TriMet has made to address rider concerns. For example, we encourage TriMet to use catchy signage to articulate what is being done to increase the overall safety of the system. It might surprise many riders to learn that the number of security officers doubled last year. Moreover, most riders are also unaware of TriMet's aggressive maintenance operations for fare machines.